Back when James Gunn first took over DC Studios and confirmed a reboot to the DCEU, he also confirmed a few projects from the DCU that will be semi-carried over into the DCU, with those projects being considered loose canon, meaning similar but not exact events happened in the DCU. Those projects include the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and Blue Beetle. The former two got clear follow-ups confirmed, like Creature Commandos, Waller, and Peacemaker Season 2, but Blue Beetle's place in the DCU has been relatively unclear. There were projects where it seemed possible for Blue Beetle to appear, like Booster Gold and the more recently confirmed Teen Titans. However, I always thought that having Jaime appear on Booster Gold would add a huge amount of budget, and it's not Jaime who has a close connection to Booster Gold, it's Ted. As for Teen Titans, Jaime was 22 years old in the movie. By the time Teen Titans comes out, he'll be in his late 20s, absolutely not a teenager. So yeah, where exactly Jaime would return in the DCU seemed unclear. That is until soon before the making of this video, when a Blue Beetle animated series that acts as a follow-up to the movie was confirmed to be in development. The as of right now untitled Blue Beetle animated series, which will likely end up being titled just Blue Beetle, will be showrun and directed by Miguel Puga, will be written by Kristen Martinez, and will be executive produced by a few of the people behind the movie. Like the director, the writer of the movie, and some of the producers, Blue Beetle will air on Max. Zola Mariduena has been confirmed to be reprising his role in the series as Jaime Reyes, while other main cast members from the movies are in talks and apparently seem likely to be returning. This series will build upon the movie while telling its own new story. So with all of that out of the way, I wanted to make a video discussing my hopes for the Blue Beetle animated series. So make sure to leave a like and help me get to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing, and let's begin. As mentioned, Jaime is confirmed to be returning, and reprising his role is Zola Mariduena, but since this is a continuation of the movie, everyone else should return as well. This includes Adriana Barraza as Nana Reyes, Elpidio Carrillo as Rocio Reyes, George Lopez as Rudy Reyes, Melissa Escobedo as Milagro Reyes, Bruna Marquezine as Jenny Cord, and Becky G as Kajida. That being said, aside from Jenny, who will serve as the primary love interest and as the character with the strongest familial connection to Ted Cord, and then also Kajida because obviously, I'd prefer it if none of the other characters, which is basically just Jaime's family, have large roles. They should definitely appear and have roles, but maybe more minor ones, not appearing in every episode, as Jaime is allowed to move away from his family, considering he'll be in his mid-20s during this series. Instead, the show should introduce Jaime's comic book best friends Paco Testas and Brenda Del Vecchio to be the primary supporting characters, alongside Jenny. In the comics, Jaime met Paco and Brenda in high school, but this version of Jaime is a lot older than his comic book counterparts. It's still possible that these two were his old high school friends, but it makes a little bit more sense for them to be introduced as employees at Cord Industries, who Jaime gets close to while working there. And so the main characters of the show would be Jaime, Kajida, Jenny, Paco, Brenda, but also then Ted Cord. The end credit scene of the Blue Beetle movie confirmed that Ted Cord was still alive, with the scene teasing his return. Before the announcement of the animated series, I thought Booster Gold would be where his story is followed up on, but this animated series will allow for the story to be fully developed. It would be awesome to see flashbacks set before the events of the Blue Beetle movie showing Ted Cord's career as Blue Beetle, maybe leading all the way up until his disappearance, explaining how he went missing, which would in turn connect directly to the main storyline and probably the main villains. This could mean setting the series apart from the movie in its direction, where instead of Jaime Reyes being the one and only main character and the only Blue Beetle, the series could have dual protagonists, both titular Jaime Reyes and Ted Cord, and then those dual protagonists should absolutely keep their costume designs from the movie because they are perfect. The director said he wanted to cast Jason Sudeikis as Ted, which I think is a pretty great casting, and I see no reason not to go through with it. One thing we could see in those flashbacks is a crossover with Booster Gold, who through time travel can exist at similar points in his life during Ted's career and the present day. This, alongside a potential appearance of Ted's on Booster Gold, can allow the DCU to establish that classic comic book friendship through multiple different projects. And if anything, it would be a lot easier to do something like that in this show versus Booster Gold, since the series will be animated. In the same vein, an animated series like this one makes it very easy for them to pull a lot of small crossovers with the rest of the DCU. Aside from Booster Gold, it'd be cool to see other alien characters like Superman and Supergirl, and other characters who originated from Charlton Comics like Peacemaker, and some characters who haven't yet been confirmed for this universe like The Question and Captain Atom. The characters who seem most likely to appear, again aside from Booster Gold, would be some of the Green Lanterns, since one of the biggest aspects of the Blue Beetle lore is the Scarab's creators, the Reach, who have a past with the Green Lantern Corps. And speaking of the Reach, as the creators of the Scarab, some of Blue Beetle's most important villains, and maybe can be used as the cause of Ted Kord's disappearance, the Reach will absolutely appear in the series. The potential issue with the Reach appearing in this animated series is that it runs the risk of retreading old ground from Young Justice, which in Season 2, or Young Justice Invasion, had an entire season dedicated to the Reach as the main villains, and Jaime definitely felt like the main character. It felt like a season of a Blue Beetle animated show, where the rest of the DC universe was also involved. And so, in order to avoid the feeling of derivativeness and pointlessness, I think the series would have to make some drastic changes to the Reach, making them less comic accurate. This definitely would not have been a problem in a live action setting, since that's never been done before, but I just can't imagine them having a comic accurate version of the Reach appear in an animated series without it feeling exactly like what Young Justice already did. What exactly those changes would be, I'm not sure, but maybe I'd start with using their Insectoid New 52 designs and connecting that to why the Blue Beetle is based on a beetle. I wouldn't say these designs are better, in fact I'd say the opposite, but the point is that they're different. Despite their long history of comics, the Blue Beetles do not have a very extensive rogues gallery. Carapax, Omac, and Victoria Cord are already covered, and I already mentioned the Reach. But aside from that, basically every significant Blue Beetle villain should appear as well at some point in the series. Villains like La Dama, the Madman, Jarvis Cord potentially, although maybe his role was already covered by Victoria Cord, Dr. Polaris, Typhoon, Overthrow, and then maybe Maxwell Lord. Importantly, Lord was the one who killed Ted Kord in the comics, and so should be a prime candidate for the cause of Ted Kord's disappearance, or at least that's what I would have said had James Gunn not already confirmed that Maxwell Lord's characterization will be more based on his earlier non-villainous depictions, which fits the casting of Sean Gunn a lot better. Because of that, it seems unlikely that Lord will have anything to do with Ted's disappearance in this universe, and even less so would be the cause of his death. On the technical side of things, there's the question of what type of animation this series should use. The only other animated series in the DCU for now, Creature Commandos, will be classic 2D animation, which is what I typically prefer for television. However, recently X-Men 97 kind of pushed the bar for what an animated series could look like, brilliantly and seamlessly mixing 3D and 2D animation with beautiful scenery, colors, and action scenes, all while retaining the art style from the 90s show. This visual quality made the animation of the other animated comic series releasing around the same time, like Invincible and My Adventures with Superman, look a little bit lesser in comparison, while blowing the animation of Marvel's other 3D animated series out of the water. I say all that because, aside from the art style, which would be all its own, I'd love for X-Men 97's visual and animation style to be the basis for what Blue Beetle will look like. It would fit Blue Beetle's powers and fighting style, and perfectly fit the visual language of the movie, especially the colors of Palmyra City, and would differentiate the series further from Young Justice Invasion, which, as I previously mentioned, kinda already felt like a season of an animated Blue Beetle series. Creature Commandos being 2D might have set the precedent for all DCU animated series looking like that, but actually, the same day the Blue Beetle series was announced, James Gunn said on Threads that stylistically we'll have all sorts of animated and cinematic projects, meaning that it's likely that even the animated series will be visually distinct from each other. And finally, to truly feel like a continuation of the movie, the animated series should use the music of the movie as the music of the series, potentially even using the main theme as its intro theme, specifically the last minute or so of the Blue Beetle suite. Also, I always prefer it when a TV show has a long intro song, again like X-Men 97, but also exactly like Peacemaker, so I'd love for Blue Beetle to have exactly that. And so, what I'd like the Blue Beetle animated series to look like is a dual protagonist series focusing on Jaime and Ted, with the supporting characters being Kashida, Jenny, Paco, and Brenda, with Jaime's family appearing in small roles. Flashbacks showed Ted's career up until his disappearance, with an appearance or maybe a few from Booster Gold. Ted eventually rejoins the land of the living, maybe even at the end of the season. Maybe this is what is setting up season 2, as he's revealed to have been disappeared by the Reach, the overarching villains of the entire series, and who have a past with the Green Lantern Corps, which is something that we would see on screen, all with the animation and visual look of X-Men 97, but its own unique art style. A long intro, the music of the movie, the costumes of the movie, the cast of the movie, and well, obviously we would want good writing and a good story. I did not see this announcement coming. I would not have guessed an animated series is how they would follow up on Blue Beetle, but I gotta say this is one of the best possible outcomes. Blue Beetle has proven time and time again to work in animation. A series allows them to fully flesh out the story, and animation opens up many new avenues of possibility, which I'm definitely looking forward to.